So I saw the Han Solo movie called Solo, and if that sounds like an obvious and recycled joke, that's kind of the point, because that's the perfect description of this film. For the longest time, I wasn't even planning on seeing this movie. I'm so sick of Star Wars at this point. Sure, the original films were great, but then they released the special editions and ruined them. Then we all suffered through the prequels, and for a while, that was it. Disney then bought Star Wars, and we got The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and The Last Jedi, which ranged from bad to absolutely terrible. Then I saw the trailer for Solo, and to my surprise there wasn't a lightsaber in sight. It looked like an exciting adventure movie. I think that's what Star Wars really needs. Excitement. Not Jedis, not Sith, not lightsabers, not galaxy-ending weapons from an evil empire. Just pure, simple excitement. I'm sure everyone knows by now, but just in case, the original directors of Solo were Chris Miller and Phil Lord, the guys behind the Lego Movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They had pretty much finished the movie when Kathleen Kennedy fired them and brought in Ron Howard to completely remake the film. I've heard he reshot about 80% of the movie. The behind the scenes workings of this film have been a complete mess, so you'd expect the end result to be the same, but surprisingly it's a fairly cohesive film. The movie isn't without its flaws, but it's far from what I will describe as a mess. So what did I think of Solo, A Star Wars Story? I liked it. I thought it was good. Not great, but good. What first struck me when the film started was just how ugly it looked. Everything was dark and murky. The whole first act was pretty bad. The characters only speak in exposition dumps, and the opening chase scene was awful. They overplay the music to try and trick you into thinking this isn't the most boring thing you've ever seen. I spotted a number of parts where what the characters were saying didn't match their lip movements. They clearly dubbed over what the characters were saying with something else. It was really obvious at times. The movie certainly improves after the first 20 minutes or half an hour. So the central plot revolves around the characters trying to get their hands on some fuel, which gave me horrible flashbacks to The Last Jedi.
Go away!
It's some kind of rare special fuel that looks like fancy battery cells or something.
Harbulary batteries.
This sends them on a space adventure where we get a fun train heist and some speedy chase scenes. What I liked about this movie was that it felt like its own separate small adventure within the Star Wars universe, rather than an epic mind-blowing saga where the entire galaxy is at stake. The references and callbacks were a lot more subtle than I was expecting. They were still distracting and annoying, but they could have been a lot worse. Although I can guarantee I missed at least half of them. I didn't watch these characters thinking they are the same people from the original films. If you go in expecting to see the Han Solo you know and love, you're going to be in for a huge disappointment. The original Han Solo had this constant irritation with people. Everyone just annoyed him. In the new movie, Han Solo is a happy, optimistic scallywag. Obviously these two personalities don't match, and there's nothing in the new film to indicate he is on a path that will change his personality to the one you see in the original trilogy. As you can probably gather from the opening of this video, I'm so tired of Star Wars, it was easy for me to look at Solo as its own separate film. None of this Disney crap can affect how I feel about the original trilogy because they're so far removed. There's about 30 years between them. If you love Star Wars and find it hard to separate the originals from the new movies, well, I'm sorry. The acting and characters were fine. They were acceptable. The guy playing Han Solo did a pretty good job with the material he was given, and he had great chemistry with Chewbacca. Honestly, I would have preferred to see more of these two than any of the other wasted characters. The woman from Game of Thrones was quite bad. She's not a good actress. I'm convinced her entire acting range consists of louder equals more emotion.
Where are my dragons?
That's not how it works. She also had no chemistry with the Han Solo guy, which is pretty bad when you consider she's there as his love interest and arguably the emotional hook of the movie. It's also quite annoying that Han Solo couldn't see that she was up to something, especially when it's so painfully obvious to the audience. Paul Bettany was quite good. It's nice to see him in a role that allows him a bit more range outside of vision. The robot L337 was the most annoying character in the entire film. In fact, she was even more annoying than Jar Jar Binks. At least Jar Jar kept his fucking mouth shut at times. Seriously, anytime this robot is on screen, it's shooting its mouth off. It reminded me of High Five from the Emoji Movie. And when I can draw a direct comparison between one of your characters and the Emoji Movie, you know you've messed up. This robot constantly talks down to people and screams about droid rights. So droids are sentient now, all of a sudden. It's just a heavy-handed, pointless attempt to insert modern Twitter politics into a Star Wars film. I have no idea why Disney keeps doing this, but it's fucking annoying. They don't weave the droid rights thing into the plot to make it an essential part of the story. You could quite easily remove that whole character and her incessant moaning, and it wouldn't change a thing. That's a lie, it'd stop my blood from boiling. If you were to score this movie out of 10, take 2 points off just for her. She completely ruined the film for the time she was in the movie. I'm not exaggerating. There's a reference to her and Lando having sex. There's a part where she has to cut through a fence and she whips out a gadget which is attached to her groin. Yes, it's a penis tool. She then has to lower herself so her penis tool lines up with the fence, so she does this awkward squat that makes it look like she's about to take a shit, very much like how Disney took a shit on the Star Wars franchise. She then pauses to say, "Look away, I can't perform while you're looking at me." You see, even in that sentence, there's too many looks. It should be, "Look away, I can't perform while you're watching me," or something to that effect. You shouldn't have two looks in like one group. It's too many. Learn to write. But at least they explore the idea of robot sentience, right? Fucking nope. They bring it up, do nothing with it, and then forget about the whole thing. Yeah, just casually bring up that everyone that owns a droid in all the Star Wars films are actually cruel slave owners, and then drop the idea without any sort of resolution. Fantastic. Sorry, Luke. I'm going to insert a spoiler warning here, if you care. I'm not sure you can actually spoil such a predictable movie, but there you go. The characters eventually go to some place with a bunch of droid slaves, and L337 proceeds to set them all free. And then comes my favourite part in the movie. While L337 is screaming about revolution, she gets shot in the stomach. Both me and the other 6 people in the cinema all cheered. The film clearly wants you to feel sad, but I couldn't be happier. To make it even funnier, Lando runs over to help her, and when he picks her up, her legs fall off. There's also a cameo at the end of the film that really confused me. So here's another spoiler warning, I guess. As much as you can spoil a pointless cameo. So at the end, a character turns on this hologram thing and someone in a black hooded robe pops up. He pushes his hood back to reveal his face painted in this red and black pattern with little horns glued onto the top of his head. The film treats it like some massive reveal. Who is this guy? He's not mentioned in the film at all. He doesn't impact anything. Who the fuck is this guy and why should I care? Wait, is that meant to be Darth Maul? He's got the same colour pattern and stupid spikes stuck to his head, but his face looks different. Is it meant to be him? I don't know. Everyone in this film looks different to what they do in all the other movies, so it's hard to say. He could just be another person from the same race as Darth Maul. The movie never establishes if it is Darth Maul or not, and I'm left confused. But does it really matter? Does him being or not being Darth Maul change anything? No, it doesn't. It's just a pointless scene to confuse me. Darth Maul then pulls out a double-bladed lightsaber for some reason, even though he's a hologram so can't do anything with it. I rolled my eyes so hard I saw my brain. You almost did it, Disney. You almost got through an entire Star Wars film without proudly waving around a lightsaber like an annoying robot with a penis tool. Han Solo's plan at the end of the film is incredibly dumb. Oh, I'm not even going to bother talking about it. There's a lot of stupid crap in this movie, but it never felt overwhelming to me, apart from that robot. It nowhere near shows the stupidity or contempt for the fans that The Force Awakens, Rogue One or The Last Jedi did. Solo plays everything safe and is completely predictable at every step. With that said, as formulaic as this film is, I found some of the action scenes fun and it was mostly an enjoyable experience. Bear in mind, I watched this as a completely separate entity to the Star Wars universe. If you watch this as a Star Wars fan and expect it to line up with the other films, you'd be pissed. You'd hate it. To me, it was just a generic fantasy adventure. It was like that Sahara film. Do you remember that Sahara movie with Macaulay Culkin? It was like that with the Star Wars paint on it. It's the best of the Disney Star Wars, which isn't saying much considering how bad the others are. I'd give this a 6 out of 10, maybe a 5, but probably a 6. If you're a huge Star Wars fan, you should probably avoid it. Solo is a dumb, fun adventure film. It's almost exciting. Stick that on the poster.